No. You should check out the differences in our message. You really don't want to even take a piece of paper that costs a nickel and think about it?
I'm good. I already know what I might.
Yeah? What do you think? Like, what do you think about these things?
I'm the Student News Coalition for Norman High, and I've been interviewing different protesters.
Great.
I'm just seeing people's different issues and stuff like that.
Yeah? You want to quote a document while you're at it? You might make a story or out of something.
I've already gotten one from him over there.
Yeah? Okay, good. Well, think about it, okay? Not just as a reporter, but also as a human being, because it matters. Okay? Imagine trying to cover slavery in the 1800s. Like, it wouldn't be right just to write some objective article about, oh yeah, the black people are stacked up in ships or whatever. You would actually need to be horrified and outraged at how it was occurring on your watch for you to have a proper response. And repentance would need to take place. Like, I've been apathetic to this.
I keep my opinion separate from my work.
That's what I'm saying. You shouldn't do that.
Well, my personal opinion is, it depends on the situation. If the mother is in danger and you can save the mother's life by aborting the baby, I'm all for that. But if a woman gets pregnant by accident, but she has in a loving family, she should probably raise the child. But once again, every situation is different.
She should probably, or should she not murder the child? Like,
she
which
should
one?
probably raise it.
Yeah, should she murder the baby? Is that okay?
The difference between murder and effectively euthanizing the baby is very different.
Euthanizing?
Yeah.
Maybe you should, I mean, like, how do we know the difference?
It's a medical term. Euthanization is what is
it's actually an ethical term.
The life of an organism.
It's an ethical term.
Ethical means, which means that they numb it with pain-removing substances.
Can I numb you? Is it okay if I sedate you right now and then shoot you? Would that be okay?
No, because at the end of the day,
your consent is not given, right? Your consent is not given, right?
Yeah, but I'm not a threat to anyone.
Anybody could assume that you might be a threat in the future. If I sedate you and then give the excuse, well, I thought he was going to be threatening 10 years down the line, but I felt it was better to put him down now. But I wouldn't have your consent, would I?
The reason they have the right to put down that baby is because they have medical, factual evidence that if they do not abort that baby, the mother will die. Someone on the street, minding their own business, is no threat to another person under the law.
How do you know that, man?
Because we have standards among the law.
Is there evidence in science and observation of humanity that serial killers and people who will later become criminals walk down the street and look normal, like a year before they commit a crime? Does that ever happen?
What do you mean?
Does it ever happen that somebody looks normal and then a year later commit a terrible crime?
Of course.
Okay. So why would your argument not apply to just shooting random people in the head and then using the excuse that I thought they might become a threat later?
Because according to our laws, you don't just kill someone like that.
Well, now you're changing the discussion. I'm talking about ethics. You're talking about legality.
Hey, don't argue with him. He's not going to talk to you. He's going to...
You make the decision, man. Am I talking to you or not? Like, are we having a discussion? Or is she trying to shut it down? Think about that, man.
I'm by myself.
I'm the one trying to engender discussion. She's trying to shut it down. She's trying to suppress it.
I'm not affiliated with anyone here. I'm only here by myself.
Bro, I'm not asking you to affiliate. I'm asking you to make a logical conclusion. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're changing the topics here. Okay, you've done it twice. So I'm talking about the ethical justification for killing somebody, and you said that they might become a threat later, so it's okay to euthanize them. I'm telling you.
I didn't say that.
The baby might, right?
We have factual evidence that if the baby is not euthanized, the mother will die.
Right, and that's the exact same. We have the exact same thing for all these other citizens walking around. So would it be okay to shoot random people in the head because they might be a threat later to somebody else's life?
No.
Then why for the baby?
Because we have no evidence that that person will become a serial killer, while we have evidence that that baby poses a threat to the
Like
mother.
what?
So many blood disorders, spinal.
That's a threat to the baby, not the mother.
In cases where mothers have received traumatic injury, especially when it's almost a miscarriage.
That's not an elective abortion. We're talking about. I'm talking about like choosing to murder somebody. If somebody gets killed in an accident, if somebody gets killed in an accident, that's not the same as murder. You don't prosecute somebody for accidentally dropping something on somebody else's head. I'm talking about murdering them, choosing voluntarily to end somebody else's life.
Because they pose a threat.
How do you know?
We have medical evidence. The doctor makes an assessment, looks at the facts, and decides if this child is not euthanized, the mother will die.
But he can't know that, can he? Because numerous times, no, he can't. Nobody knows the future, do they? Do doctors acquire the ability to know the future with a medical degree?
No, but we have thousands of years of medical knowledge, and usually in these cases, there's about a 95% chance of what the doctor said.
You made that
is
up.
true.
You just made that up.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you did. You
American Medical
totally,
Institute.
totally just made that up.
The American
Okay.
Medical Institute.
Said what about 95%?
I believe it was an article last June.
And what did it say? In what context was the 95% figure given?
When a doctor makes a prediction about certain cases that affect a child, 95% of the time they're correct. When a case concerns
Yeah,
an adult,
right.
it's about 85%.
Yeah, I don't think that that's true.
So you wouldn't trust a doctor?
Not to murder somebody.
They're there for a reason.
I know.
We trust
Doctors are there to actually try to help people survive and try to help people heal.
Exactly. Try to
Not
help the
murder
mother
people.
survive.
Not the mother, because they're both of equal value. The baby is just as valuable as the mother. There are two patients in such a case, not one, two. You have to treat them both as equally
Let me
valuable.
ask you this. When do you believe a fetus becomes a human being?
Fetuses don't become human beings. Fetuses are human beings in a fetal stage of development.
So even when they're a zygote, you consider that a human being?
It's the same thing. A zygote is a stage of development. It's not a different organism, not a different species. It's not a rock.
When does humanism begin? Like at conception?
Yeah, it begins at conception because that's when DNA takes place. That's when the differentiated organism has come into being. An egg and a sperm is not the same. When they come together, it forms a different organism that then begins to grow, nourished by the mother's body, but independent of the mother's body. It grows. The child grows genitalia. Does the mother have two vaginas or a penis during her development? Of course not. Does she have 4 eyes? No, she has 2 eyes, and the baby has 2 eyes. That's why we treat both of them as patients in a case where there's medical difficulty. Not set apart the mother as more important than the
You believe
child.
the life of the mother is equal to the life of the baby?
Right, because everybody's created in God's image.
See, that's the
Not
thing.
just old people.
You're coming at this from a Christian perspective.
Of course, because it's true. Of course I would do
According to
that.
your religion.
No, it's true, period. And I just say, people label it my religion, but it's actually the truth. And people label it my religion
Believe
to
something does not
dismiss
make
it.
it true.
I know that.
There is no universal truth.
Is that true?
No.
So it's not
There's no
true?
universal truth.
So that's not true.
Of course not.
Okay, so it's not true that there's no universal truth?
Nope.
Do you not understand how that's self-defeating?
Of course.
Does that not bother
I'm
you?
trying to make a point.
But hold on. Is it true that you're trying to make a point?
No. I'm just discussing with you.
I'm sorry. I'm very confused now. Because you keep saying
get that a lot.
true. Well, yeah, you keep saying true and false, but then you say things, and then you say that they're not true. So, help me understand what you're actually trying to say. Are the things that you're saying true, or are they not true?
When it comes to the factual evidence that I said, that is true.
But there's no universal truth.
What do you mean?
But there's no
There
universal
is no
truth.
universal truth. But there are
But you said that statement's not
universal
true.
truth is very different from, say, scientific truth or medical truth. A universal truth means something that is universal throughout everything in the universe. Life does not exist everywhere in the universe.
Is that universally true?
The life does not exist everywhere in the universe?
Yeah, is that universally true?
No, because we haven't seen the rest of the universe.
So no, hold on. So you actually don't know whether it's true. You're just saying it, but you don't know it, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. When you say maybe we're using different words. When you say universal truth, what I think is there are no true statements. Do you think there are propositions that are either true or false?
When it comes to factual evidence, yes.
Okay, so there is such a thing as truth, and there is such a thing as falsehood.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to say there is a God. His name is Jesus. True or false?
False.
How do you know?
It's never been proven.
Sure, it has. How do you know it hasn't been proven?
The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
I know. That's exactly what I'm saying. However, everything
Can
is.
you prove he exists?
Yes, I can. Everything is the evidence of God. Everything. The fact that you're standing here is evidence of God.
How do you prove that?
You're asking two questions. You're asking how do I know, and you're asking how would I demonstrate it to somebody else.
Can
Okay.
you answer both of those?
Yes, I can. How do I know it? Sure. The way that I know it, first of all, is because Jesus has saved me and opened my eyes to the truth. That's how I know it. How I demonstrate it to somebody else has to do with defeating other worldviews that are competing to it. For example, I would let you know that since Jesus is Lord, He has revealed certain things to me and everybody such that we can know them for certain, like the general reliability of sense information. For example, I can know that I'm standing here. Okay. Now, let's say Jesus is not Lord. Please tell me one thing that you know for certain and how you know it.
What do you mean?
I'm not sure how I can simplify it.
The question?
Please tell me one thing that you know for sure and how you know that thing. For sure now, not think. I'm not asking you what you think. I'm asking you what you know and how you know it.
The net amount of energy in the universe is equal to 0.
Okay? How do you know that?
Because we have gathered the data.
How much of the available data have we, quote unquote, gathered?
As much as possible.
How much is that of the available data in the universe?
An insignificant amount.
Okay, so but you think it's impossible that out there in the universe there could be a vast quadrant of space where the things that we think we've learned by our research is contradicted by more data? Have we ever discovered things?
But when we are making
So you don't know it, do you?
No one knows everything.
Okay,
You can't
great.
claim. Wait, hold
Great.
on. You've talked that off a lot. You cannot claim to know something just because you believe in a deity.
But I'm not
or
saying that.
belief.
I'm not saying that.
Hold on. When you're
Just
talking
don't
about-
strawman me, okay?
When you're talking about the universe as a whole, there are things we do not know. But when it comes to making a decision, we have to go off the facts that we do know. You cannot make a decision off of facts that have never been proven. Okay.
For example, that the net amount of energy in the universe is 0?
Yeah.
That hasn't been proven, so but you still made the decision. You said you knew it.
Because all the facts of what is there is.
That's what people used to say. That's what people used to say about how the sun revolved around the earth. All the available data supports our conclusion, and then they discovered they were wrong. How do you know you're not wrong about that? Yeah, they did. They had plenty. Read some history, man. Come on. You're a reporter. Read history.
You do not know about the.
They had data. Yes, I know about Copernicus.
Do you know that Archimedes was actually the first one that concluded?
That's great, and there were people before Archimedes, and there were people after Archimedes who ignored or didn't know about his stuff, and they thought that the sun revolved around the earth because they had data that they misinterpreted. How do you know you're not misinterpreting this information about the amount of energy in the universe?
When it comes to making a decision on the facts that we know, you can only go with the truths that have been discovered.
You're giving me excuses, not answering the question. Can you answer it or not?
Can you please repeat the question?
Sure. You've said that the amount of we have to make decisions based on the evidence we have. I asked you how much evidence. You said an insignificant amount. So I don't understand on what basis you concluded that.
Because compared to the evidence we've had before, it is significantly larger.
Okay.
You have
you don't have any.
It ultimately comes down to your
Insignificant.
personal choice.
No. Don't go there. No.
wait,
There's
hold on.
actual true things and false things, as we've already discussed. So it's not down to personal choice. It's whether things are true or false.
What do you mean?
Okay. You say whether I believe or something in Jesus. You say it's down to my personal choice. I'm not talking about whether we have freedom in this country to believe something. I'm talking about what's right and wrong, what's true and false. Okay.
Right.
So let's not divert the conversation. I'm asking you how you know these things. You said that you came to a conclusion based on insignificant evidence that the net amount of energy in the universe is 0. Okay. I asked you how you knew that. You said all of the data we have gathered. I said how much. You said an insignificant amount. I asked you how you know that somewhere else in the universe that data is not contradicted. You said you don't know how that could be. It could be. It could not be. It sounds like you don't know that. You just think it. It's a hypothesis.
When
right?
making a decision, you have to go with the facts that have been established.
No, you don't. What if you hold it? What if you hold it in abeyance and think, I'll make a decision on this when I have more data?
What do you mean?
Because you have insignificant data, shouldn't you wait until you've gathered more to make such a claim that you know it?
Because we don't have time for that.
Oh, we don't have time. So since time is a factor and convenience and efficiency are factors, that affects the data gathering and the fact gathering process?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're making guesses because we might run out of time. I thought you said you knew that the net amount of energy in the universe is equal to 0. You said you knew it.
It's an established fact from the data.
It's a hypothesis, a theory at best. Theories are always, even in the scientific community, they'll tell you. Yes, exactly. They'll tell you that these things are theories and that they're held with a loose hand. Even the scientific community will tell you that. If you really ask them, if they talk about the abstract philosophy of science, they'll tell you that they don't hold the theories with a closed fist. They're supposed to just always hold it in case the contrasting evidence arrives. And we're not even talking about the fundamental problem with your assertion yet. Well, maybe we should get to that. So you say that we observed it. How do you know that your senses and the senses of those scientists, those high priests of scientism that you put your faith in?
High priests
How,
of science.
yeah. How do you know the high priests of scientism? How do you know that their observations are accurate? How do you know their senses reliably observe the world around them?
Because we did not actually go through their senses. We used machines and data gathering devices.
You're assuming that the senses accurately observed the machines. How do you know those machines exist?
What?
How do you know the machines exist?
Because we can see them.
Have your eyes ever deceived you before? Have your sense?
Really.
Never? You've never seen a mirage in the distance that looked like a pool of water, but actually when the pool was just a light, an optical illusion?
Like far down in the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen mirages.
Okay. So your eyes have deceived you before. How do you know they're not deceiving you now? Because you have faith?
What do you mean?
How do you know that your eyes are not deceiving you right now, or when you look at that machine or whatnot?
Because it's right in front of me.
But your eyes have deceived you. How do you know? You don't know, do you?
You are really confusing me.
I know, because I'm asking questions that nobody asks. These are questions that nobody will raise. You would go ask any teacher, man. No high school professor is going to raise this up. No modern philosopher is going to, well, very few modern philosophers talk about it, and they don't have answers when they do. There's not an answer outside of Jesus Christ. So when I ask you,
But that's your opinion.
no, it's actually the truth based on the conclusions of all the debating and the arguments that I've observed, which is a lot. I've asked university professors these questions. I've asked college students. I've asked all sorts of people. Nobody has answers. Only Jesus can give the answer to questions like this. That's how I know that He's Lord. Okay. Now, so when I ask you this, you don't even know. So let me clarify something. Could you be in the Matrix right now? Do you know what the Matrix is?
Yeah.
It's a really old movie. Right? Yeah, it's about.
I'm not that old.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you know what the Matrix is. How do you know you're not in the Matrix right now?
I don't.
Okay. So everything that you think you're experiencing could be an illusion. Is that correct or not?
True.
Okay. So you don't know for sure that you're actually standing here talking to me. You could be talking to a computer-generated program, right? And your brain could actually be in a vat somewhere being stimulated by electrodes that have learned to create a very true-looking verisimilitude and a very true-looking universe around you, right? So your brain could be there. Okay, so you don't actually know these things, do you?
But you're getting all your data based off of a very archaic book.
Now you're changing the argument. We'll go there after that, okay? First, I'd like you to tell me if you know something. It sounds like you don't know anything for sure. Can you?
No one knows anything for sure.
Okay. Well, hold on. Do you know that nobody knows anything for sure?
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
So there is one thing that people know for sure, yes?
Yeah.
And that is that nobody knows anything for sure?
But we don't know everything.
Do we not know everything or don't know anything? Which one?
We don't know everything.
Okay, what thing can you know that is independent of the Matrix conclusion?
Well, you're assuming that our world is not our world.
I'm not assuming it. I'm asking you how you know that it's not true. I'm not assuming anything. I'm asking you how you know. I'm not assuming anything. I'm asking you how you know that it's not true. Bless you. Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. I hear that.
Can you phrase it?
Yeah, sure. So, you said that we could be in the Matrix. That means that you don't know that you're standing here right now necessarily. You think you are, but you could be in the Matrix. So the question becomes, we could all be in the Matrix, and maybe we don't know anything at all. So how do we know that anything is true, is the question.
But how is your truth? Okay, let's go to that issue.
Okay.
How is your truth from a book different from my truth?
It's not, there is no my truth, there is just truth. Okay? So again, that would be like, that's changing the
How do you
argument.
define truth?
Well, truth is that which is.
Okay.
That which is. Okay, that's what truth is.
Let me ask you this. How did you become a Christian?
The Lord saved me, He opened my eyes, and I saw the complete poverty of all the other worldviews. So the Bible teaches that, like, I was literally, I was lost in sin, I hated God, and then he opened my eyes. He acted because He's a real agent working in real time.
Did you actually experience Him? Or
Not like, I mean, a lot of people have kind of like a shattering experience. I didn't really have a major experience. It was more like a change of heart, change of mind.
Okay.
Repented of my
was a
sin.
change of mind.
Repented of my sin. Realized that I had been suppressing the knowledge of God, and I turned away from it.
Okay.
And God forgave me.
Now let me ask you this. Do you believe all humans have the same rights?
Human rights don't exist. However, we all have the same responsibilities toward each other. Yes, that's to love God and love our neighbor as ourselves. So yeah. I mean, if you think rights exist, I'd invite you to prove it. I don't think you can. They're not composed of cadmium or nickel. They don't grow anywhere. Rights. They're either opinions or they're commands of God. And if they're opinions, then we can safely ignore them.
Okay, then how do you believe that Jesus is God?
Because he said he was.
I can say anything.
I know, but he proved it also.
How did he prove it?
By rising from the dead, by claiming he was, and then rising from the dead.
Do we have historical evidence that he did so?
Yeah, it's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible. That's a very biased answer.
So, is bias bad?
I can write, not necessarily, but I can write anything in a book.
So it's not bad, right?
It depends in what form you use it.
Oh, okay. So you say that you can write any book. Could you write a true book?
Could I write a true book?
Can you write a true article?
Yeah, if I had facts.
Okay. So if somebody else had facts and they wrote a true article, that's evidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't it true that you have just unilaterally excluded the Bible as historical evidence because you don't like its conclusions?
Not necessarily, because I've never seen anything in the Bible being proven.
How much of the Bible's history have you examined?
I grew up Christian, and
no, you didn't.
Examined,
No, nobody grows up Christian and then leaves the faith. You either persevere or you were never a Christian. But anyway, I know you grew up in church.
I grew up in church.
Yeah.
And
I hear you.
And I've studied the Bible very deeply.
Okay, so
I know it doesn't appear that way right now.
Yeah. So you know all the history of first century Holy Land, and you know how the documents were transmitted to modern times. You know what languages they were in. You know the identities. No, not Aramaic.
Greek.
Yeah. What was transmitted in Greek?
The initial manuscripts.
Of what?
I'm not in the right place.
Which testament?
The Old Testament.
Man, you had a 50% chance of getting it right, but you blew it. I'm not saying this to embarrass you. Well, actually, a little bit, because you come across as you're actually pretty arrogant and secure in your knowledge, but you actually know very little. You haven't examined these arguments before. You can't answer any of my questions about how you know stuff. And then you just
How
keep...
do you know anything?
Because God reveals it to me such that I can know it for certain. If he doesn't, then we can't know anything. And that's the other side of the coin.
Because you believe that his word is true.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with what I believe. It's whether, like...
So faith has no part in it.
No, faith is not what people say it is. Faith usually, people talk of faith as like, I took a leap into the dark and just picked a religion out of a hat. No. Faith is... Okay.
When I say faith, I mean taking a teaching and believing it out of faith because you want it to be true.
That's not... No, I don't want it to be true.
How do you define faith?
I think faith is the assurance of things unseen and the conviction of things hoped for.
I've heard that in church.
Yeah, I know. Because it's a Bible quotation. I think that it has a lot... It mostly refers to the fact that I know Jesus is Lord. He said he's given promises about the future, so I know I trust him. That's
Like
faith.
what?
Like that he'll come back, and or another thing like he works all things out for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. So like those promises. So like if for example 3 of my children die due to miscarriage, which they did, then I can know that God is working those things out for me for my good, even though I may not be able to see how. Maybe not even till the end of my life.
3 kids died due to miscarriage.
Yeah.
Damn, no wonder you're out here.
Well, I will say this: God opened my eyes to the humanity of my children. Before that I was just like, whatever. Abortion's a political issue. Then I realized, oh crap, it's actually child sacrifice, and I've been ignoring it all this time.
Wait. Whoa. How is it child sacrifice?
Because it's taking children and sacrificing them to something that has taken the place of God, like convenience, education, money, future, reputation. It's idolatry, so it's sacrificed to that idol.
Whoa. Okay. Can you...
Bless you, man. I appreciate you talking to me even, despite your condition, man.
No. Okay. Can you rephrase that whole sacrifice thing?
Yeah. So we think of sacrifice as like, you come to a big statue, and you take a child and you slit its throat or whatever, and then you throw it into the... That's usually what people think of a child sacrifice, right?
I guess, yeah.
So in modern child sacrifice, there's no statue and there's no temple exactly. It doesn't say temple outside it, but it is effectively a temple in everything but word, in everything but name. And the people sacrificing their children, they have something other than God to whom they're sacrificing. That's the idol. Whether it's convenience, education, a better job, a better internship, their reputation, etc. All of these things become the goal, or like the I guess the higher power, as it were, to which they're sacrificing their child. And then they murder their child. I mean, it's not as grisly as slitting a born child's throat, but then again, it's pretty gross. You know, that's pretty gross. That's what it looks like. So they slit their child's throat, they rip their face off, they dismember them, and then they suck them out using a hose into a jar. It's child sacrifice. It's just not. The gods don't carry exotic names like Molech and Baal or whatever. They carry names that we recognize, like convenience and education.
For something to be a sacrifice, doesn't the sacrificee have to know what they're doing? Like, wouldn't the doctors have to know that I am sacrificing this baby for convenience or health?
They have their rituals.
What do you mean rituals?
They don't look like religious rituals to us, but that's just because we're used to mumbo jumbo. They have medical rituals they go through.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, they have to sterilize the environment. They have to tell lies to the mothers about how it's just a clump of cells and crap like that. And then they anesthetize the mother, and then they put her in there and they spread her legs, and the man looks into her private parts, into her genitalia, and it goes on and on. Really? This is the kind of thing. Like, the funny thing is, this conversation it's been a bit contentious. It's been fun. I wish that everybody in this school would have similar conversations, even if we never agree.
Right.
Because, like, you're actually trying to engage.
Right.
And this guy's saying, go taco yourself. And what does that even mean? It's pathetic.
I'm not even sure.
It's pathetic.
I haven't watched the news in a good month.
Yeah.
So all these taco references, I do not understand.
There's nothing to understand.
Like, I consider myself a very open-minded person.
Yeah.
And I am open to all sorts.
Yeah.
And I consider life as a journey toward truth. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm willing to listen to everyone's opinion.
Sure, man. I respect that immensely, because it's, 99%
I've covered a lot of protests and a lot of stuff like this, and I have to say this group is very well behaved and very intelligent. Because you go to some of these other conventions, and it's just kind of euphemisms like that.
I hear that.
Not actual facts or nothing.
I feel really bad about that, because, like, in the general mass media, I'm like, somebody in my position is often compared to like a Trumpette, or like a Trump follower, voted for Trump, but I didn't vote for Trump and I didn't support his presidency.
Why would you be considered that?
Well, because I know, but because people don't stop to ask those questions, they assume about me because Trump said something one time that was negative about abortion, okay, and then they see me holding a sign that's negative toward abortion, and they're like, he supports Trump. But I actually think that Trump needs to repent badly, and Trump is he's bad news. So,
regardless of religion, he's not a good man.
no, he's a terrible man, totally. And Hillary was a terrible woman. Like, the whole system is screwed up. Anyway, all that to say, that
I compared the presidential election to picking out the shiniest of two turds.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, who can polish it best, right? I mean, you keep spraying perfume on the turd, it's still a turd. Comb its hair just right, it's still a turd,
What's the deal with his hair? It looks like someone strapped a chipmunk on his duct tape.
He's vain, but it is real. I saw Jimmy Fallon messed it up.
Really? It's real?
It's real. Wow. It's just the world's craziest comb over.
Really expensive toupee.
No doubt. No, it's very expensively coiffed by hairdressers and stuff. Anyway, I'd like to say, like, people mistake me for, all sorts of people. And I would never engage in violence, If somebody were violent toward me, I'd flee it, you know what I'm saying?
You would defend yourself?
Nah. I would defend maybe my children, but not myself. I'd run away. Because I don't want to hurt anybody. This is not about me. This is about the glory of Jesus Christ.
So if someone were intending to harm you, you would not defend yourself?
Not in this context. Maybe in my house or something. I would shoot,
Like, I understand defending your children. But not even if it's just you?
Probably not. Like, if I'm out doing something like this, which I consider gospel work, or if I'm out, giving out gospel tracts like these or something.
If you're hurting that, it's considered glory or something.
Yeah, in a very real sense, it's like a gift from God to me. But also, I wouldn't want to give a stain to Jesus' reputation, because I'm out there projecting myself as like a representative of Jesus, right? And if I hit somebody or something or push them, then anybody could see that as, the Jesus guy just shoved somebody or punched somebody, right? Maybe they didn't see the first punch or whatever.
Right.
And the Bible says don't take revenge. Right. So I wouldn't take revenge on anybody. I might defend somebody else. I would flee myself, you know what I'm saying? It's like I don't want to get beat up, but also I would flee.